Hi everyone, Alex Deploy from Expert Forex, and in this video we're going to have a look at the best support and resistance indicator in the whole world. And when I go through it, you will see why this indicator is the very best. So why is this indicator so good? Firstly, it's free, but there are conditions that apply, and I'm going to go through those conditions, and you could possibly download this indicator for free right now if you have already met those conditions. If you haven't, very easy to meet. It is a very visual tool, so it makes a lot of sense. It gives you a lot of clues by the colors that are used in this particular tool. All aspects of this tool are under the trader's control, so you can make it more sensitive, less sensitive, and you could make align the tool to what you want it to do. Now, the most important thing is it does identify support and resistance zones, and it quantifies support and resistance zones by telling you how often a particular zone has acted as a support zone and how often it has acted as resistance zone. So this is what the indicator looks like. I'm going to go through it in a little bit more detail, but before I do that, I want to just give you a quick introduction to support and resistance trading. So one of the things about support and resistance levels is the subjectivity that takes place. So what one trader can see as a support and resistance level, other traders might not see, or they might see other levels, and that's what makes training in this area so difficult. And that is why I in particular have stayed away, because it takes a very careful and experienced eye to see true support and resistance levels. And on your screen, you can see some of the horizontal support and resistance levels that exist. Now, they might be wrong. As I say, it's subjective. But let's have a look at this particular, the second one that I've drawn in there. You can see it's acted as support there. Then it acted as resistance. See, the price went up and bumped against it. Then it acted as support again. Then it acted as support over there. There, resistance, 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 resistance. There, support. Their resistance, their support over there, resistance over there, support over there, it's definite support over there, it's definite resistance there, definite support there, and then support over there. So it shows you that the same line can act as support and resistance. And there's a saying when you're trading support and resistance that once resistance is broken, that line that gets broken becomes support. And then now you can see it on the screen. And I'll just go through another line. For instance, there was resistance, there was support, there's support, there's support, support, very strong support over there, very strong resistance. So you can see that you need to have a very careful eye to spot these support and resistance levels. So support and resistance level I regard as a more advanced trading skill that traders have. And to make this even more interesting is you get this, what we're looking at here is just horizontal support. The same thing applies to non-horizontal support and resistance. And we, in the advanced fields, we call this dominant angle. So in other words, the angle, this is a flat angle, but the angle is fairly consistent when you start finding non-horizontal support and resistance. And I'm going to show you that very quickly. So here's an example of non-horizontal support and resistance, and you can see the same concepts apply. You can see here, there's the level of support that existed there, very strong support, and then it came back and acted as resistance. There it acted as resistance, and there resistance. But can you see this dominant angle approach? Now, I've tried to teach people this in the past, and I just gave up because people can't see these dominant angles. Not easy to spot. Yeah, resistance there, then support, there's support. Can you see the support there? There, resistance. Same angle, same line, acting exactly the same as those horizontal lines that I showed you earlier. So non-horizontal support and resistance and horizontal support and resistance are really critical. And when the two lines cross and cause what we call a convergence of non-horizontal and horizontal support, then that area is super strong. And there's a whole strategy around that kind of trading. And then what makes it even more complicated, I've shown you one angle. Let's have a look at another angle. All right, so here we have some other angles that are clearly support and resistance. You can see there it was resistance, there it's support, there it's support. Then this line there, resistance, 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 but there support, 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 and so on. So there's support, resistance, there's support there. So the lines can go non-horizontal, but in both directions. They can go up from the left downwards or from the left upwards, and that makes it so exciting to trade support and resistance. You've got to be able to see the non-horizontal and horizontal support very easily, and these lines, as you can see, are parallel, so that's why we call them the dominant angle lines. So let's get back to our tool, but I just want to give you that introduction that support and resistance trading is really fantastic, and if you can master this area, you don't need any other indicators. You can literally just trade support and resistance. Really good tool. So let's have a look at the tool that we have for you, which makes it a lot easier. All right, here's a typical setup that I use for support and resistance trading, and this is the actual tool that we're looking at right now. It colors the support and resistance, and it also quantifies the support and resistance. So what I'm saying here is that the gray areas are classified as resistance. The orange areas or brownish areas are classified as support. And what we do then is we also give a reading about how these areas pan out. So, for instance, that white line that's there, that's just above that or just under that particular line, you can see 1899. So the first one is the first number is the total, the second number is resistance, and the other one is support. So when you look at a level like that, you can see that the level has been touched 18 times, and 9 times it acted as resistance, and 9 times it acted as support. So now it doesn't show the full chart, but here you can see it was acted as support. There are the support, there it's resistance, there it's resistance, and it's coming up for resistance and resistance there. So that's how you spot support and resistance, and this is why this tool is so good. It tells you, hey, the price has been affected at this level 18 times, and that's how it's been affected. Here 14 times it was resistance, and only 4 times it was support. So you know that when you're trading, this is a strong resistance area, and you can't rely on it as much for support. And that is what the critical information that this tool provides traders. And when you're looking at whether it will bounce or break out, those measurements are super critical. And let me see if I can actually draw a support and resistance line. I haven't tried this for a while. Oh, oops. Very skew, but that was the line that I was talking about earlier. Here's a line that happens, and this is what we call the S formation. So it bounces, goes up, makes a turn, then goes through and turns back and comes back to the support and resistance. Now that formation happens all the time. Even it's done it again. It's gone up, down, down, and retested. So you'll find that formation is one of the secret support and resistance formations that happen. There it goes up, down, and goes and retests the breakout point. So support and resistance got a few quirks in it, and you can then but having these measurements at different levels, like daily, weekly, hourly, 4-hourly, gives you a good idea of what to expect in the market. Now, here's for instance a fantastic reading. 25 times the price has tested that area. 23 3 times it was it acted as resistance. So wherever the price comes up there, it gets pushed down. It comes up there, push down, up there, push down, up there, push down, and then eventually now it's broken out, which when you have a breakout of such a strong resistance area, that is a very big signal that the momentum in the market is changing away from the resistance that's been encountered before. All right, so let's have a look at this indicator in a little bit more detail. Show you again, there's that S shape. It just happens all the time in trading. And these numbers are, as I said, pretty important. So let's go and have a look at a chart. Okay, so here are the charts that you've just seen. This is live. You'll see the prices changing all the time. And what I wanted to show you is that the settings for these particular indicators, and we'll just bring them up on the chart. And here's the settings, and I'm looking at this chart in particular, and what we're basically saying is we're looking at turning points, both high and low, but the look back period, how many candles are we looking back? So you can change that. You can make that 200, you can make it 300, you can make it 50. That's how you determine how sensitive you want your readings to be. The longer the period, the more accurate, obviously. Then the grid size, which is actually the size of those zones. So because this is the weekly chart, the grid size is that I'm using here is 200 pips, but you can manipulate that to try and get you can look at the chart and change that reading and say, oh, I like that particular reading for that particular chart. Then I've chosen those colors for support, the brown, as I've said, the resistance color, I've put the gray, and then the neutral one. Now, for instance, neutral is where nothing, the price just rushes through that zone. You also need to know those zones. Very important, the price just rushes through them. There's no support or resistance there, and I've made that pale green. The shading of the bands. Now, how the shading works is it actually is light when it's a weak support, and it gets darker and darker as it becomes a more meaningful support. So for instance, like there's a very dark brown, you can see it's 18 times it's been a support area. There it's only been a support 12 times, there it's only 7 times, and so on. So the coloring, the shading of the bars also help you to see which ones are the important ones and which ones aren't. And there, for instance, the gray, you can see there 22 times it has acted as resistance, and in that the top one only 13 times has it acted as resistance. So that's how the coloring happens, the shading as we call it there. And you can shade it lighter or darker. So I like the more important ones to become darker, but you can do it the other way around there. Then the intensity of the shading, again, do you want the colors to darken very quickly or very subtly? And you can set a percentage. I've got it at 80%, but you can fool around there with 40%, 60%, 80%, and see how the color. So you can set as I said earlier, you can set these charts up really nicely to show what's going on. Show the band information. That's actually that information that's there, so you get a feedback on each band saying how important has it been, how often has the chart, the price consolidated or touched that particular band. Now you can see, if you just very quickly look through, then obviously the 43 is the area where the price has touched and sat at that particular level. Where the levels have small readings, it means that the price tends to rush through those areas and not consolidate or not bounce in those particular areas. So there's a lot of information that you can do, that you get from that. And then you can, the font size, for instance, this, you can change the font size and make it smaller, make it bigger, and that on. So those are the settings that you could look at when using. Now this, what I've shown you now is the weekly settings. So let's go and look at the daily settings. You'll see the difference. So we'll move to the daily, and Again, these are just settings that I use. You can go and play around with the settings that might meet your needs a little bit better. And quite honestly, the settings differ from currency to currency based on their volatility. So here you can see the look back period's more or less the same. The grid size has gone from 200 to 100 because this is the daily. So I don't want 200. 200 is not sensitive enough. 100 is enough for me. And you can see the settings that we use there. So let's go to the next one, which is the 4 hour. I'll give you the setting that I'm using for the pound, but certainly you can go and experiment and see if you like better settings. So remember the grid size was 200, 100. Now I've made that 50. So that's how you adapt to the different time frames. Also the look back period's only 100 in this case, and all the rest is more or less the same. So those are the kind of changes that you can make, but you can go and play around with alternative settings. And seeing that we've done that one now, let's go and have a look at the hourly and just get a feel of what kind of settings were used there. And here's the hourly, this chart's setting. So there I've used a grid size of 25. So you can see 200, 100, 50, 25 is how I've scaled it. Look back periods more or less 150 throughout, and there are but you can go and change all of these settings, play around with them, and build these charts to your particular needs. So in this case, I've only the pound showing on a weekly, daily, 4 hour and 1 hour. Then I've got also 4 hour charts for 16 of the major currencies, so I can compare which ones are near support and resistance and which ones are far from support and resistance, and how serious that support and resistance is, because sometimes when you've got families of currencies at the same position, that tells you a lot. So the question now is, how do you get your hands on this indicator? And here is the Expert Forex website, and you can see there it is, the support and resistance heat map. It's a heat map that shows you the importance of certain levels, and it's $50 if you purchase it outright. Now you also get it free if you purchase any of our EAs or indicators. So once you're on the EA Factory website and you have downloaded your own product that you've purchased, the website will say, hey, by the way, here are 8 or so of our products that you can download for free, and some of them are included in there, but there are 8, I think between 6 and 8 products that you can download for free as a customer of EA Factory and Expert Forex. So that's how you get it totally free. The other way of getting it free is to go to our paid forum. The paid forum, I'm going to just click on that and go there. And here we are on the paid forum, and there are the premium trading robots and indicators. So we actually give away free robots, free indicators. There's a whole lot of them. There are 44 topics that's been raised so far. And you go in there, and I've just listed the support and resistance indicator as a free indicator, and there it is at the top there. There's only 4 people that have downloaded it, so 7 people that have downloaded it so far. So there, that's how you get there. It's the first benefit. There are 16 benefits to being a member of this particular forum, but this is number 1 benefit, where you can download a whole lot of free indicators and trading tools. And if you cast your eye down there, there's a whole lot of other ones that you can go and download very nicely. And there's more. As I said, 44 posts for premium trading robots and indicators. At the moment, we are planning to increase that considerably in the next month. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've learned a little bit about how support and resistance works, and how important it is to have this really valuable information available if you're doing support and resistance trading. Now, support and resistance trading actually gets involved in most strategies, because when a price is approaching a certain level, then and let's say you're trading with the RSI, it's that you would use the support and resistance to confirm that there is a likely bounce to occur from a certain point, or a breakout. If the resistance is weak, it will break out. If the resistance is strong, then it will bounce. So support and resistance can also need not be the main strategy that you use, but it is a confirmation strategy where you can say, oh, there's horizontal support, there's non-horizontal support, therefore the chances of it bouncing in the same place is very high, therefore I'm going to buy if it bounces, or so on. So you can make those kind of decisions based on support and resistance. Support and resistance is also one of the areas where you can catch 100% of the move. In other words, you can catch some of the bounces so precisely that you can enter on the bounce and you can exit when it reaches the next resistance level. I have had a few 100% trades where I've entered exactly on support and exited exactly on resistance. So it's one of the trading strategies that give you the ability to squeeze 100% of the move and benefit from it. Now, as normal, the links to the items I've mentioned in this video will be in the description of the video, as well as in the first commentary of the video. So from me, Alex Deploy, cheerio.